Hello everyone, Sheanin here. I decided to make this video here as an introduction into role-playing on World of Warcraft. This is going to be the very bare bones basics, as well as answering a few questions many new role players have when first starting to roleplay. Roleplaying can add a whole other level of depth to your experience on WoW, and those who take to it find it very rewarding. I'll keep things as simple and easy as possible so that you can jump right in right after watching this video, but feel free to ask me any other questions that you might have. As the name suggests, roleplay means that you take on the role of your character. The simplest definition of this would be that you speak and act as your character would, not how you, sitting behind a computer screen, would. This means you have to know your character fairly well. What's their personality? Their likes and dislikes? How about their backstory? All these factors will contribute to how they interact with the other characters they meet during their adventures. When deciding on a personality for your character, a good place to start is with your race and class. The Warcraft universe is full of rich lore for each race, and you can pull from this material to see the basics of how your character should act. You don't have to be bound by these constraints, but it can be very helpful when you're first starting out. For example, orcs will tend to be blunt and gruff with their language, and quick to anger, whereas the undead tend to be more cold and calculating, and perhaps a little cruel. And Tauren are generally considered gentle yet strong, sort of an inner strength. Trolls seem to be a little bit more sassy and lighthearted, with a sort of edgy sense of humor. And Blood Elves are prideful and perhaps a bit stuck up and snooty, but oh so fun to play. Your class can also help you figure out your character's personality. Take a moment to think about what drew them to this profession. Why did you pick this class? What kind of personalities would thrive as a priest, or as a rogue, or even a warrior? They all have different draws, and they all will attract very different personalities. Remember, this is what your character decided to do as a profession. It has to have some sort of draw to them. A good way to build up a rich roleplay is to take some time to decide your character's backstory. This means deciding on the events in their life that led them to this current point. You can consider their childhoods, parents, training, anything you want, but don't think you have to have pages and pages of backstory written before you start. A general idea is fine to begin with, and you can fill in the details as your character talks to others through natural conversation. The most important detail to decide on is their motivation. Why are they traveling this world? What are their goals? What's important to them? Decide these things and you will always know how your character should react to any given situation. Now that you know how to build up a character's personality, I'm sure you want to get to the technicals of how to roleplay in World of Warcraft. This is done mostly through the use of emotes, although some game mechanics can be used. To start roleplaying on World of Warcraft, simply type /E. This will start an emote. You can use emotes to express anything your character is doing, and you're not constrained by the pre-made ones the game already provides. Once you type /E, you're free to write anything you like. And this is where roleplay can really start to get rich and fun. No longer are you constrained by simply waving and smiling. Now you can give someone a grim nod, snarl in anger, or quirk a brow and laugh with a smirk of satisfaction. These unique emotes will be the bread and butter of your character, as each encounter with someone else becomes completely unique. When it comes to emote roleplaying, remember to type in the third person and present tense. Each line will start with your character's name, and you're describing what they're currently doing. These can be as simple or as verbose as you like. The only thing that matters is that everybody else around you can understand what your character is supposed to be doing. Let me take a moment here and explain that these emotes will be in text only, unlike the pre-rendered ones that Blizz has already provided that come with their own character animations and voices. Roleplay is still mostly text-based, but you can find some ways to work game mechanics into it. While the meat of the RP is still in text, it's good to remember that you have an avatar to move in a physical space. You can sit when you say you sit, or stand when you say you stand. Try to move them as close to the text as the game mechanics will allow. This third dimension of RP really helps to make it feel more solid and real than just pure text would, and I think it adds a lot to the experience. Well, now you know how to make your characters do things, but how do you get them to talk? There are two ways that you can do this, and it really just comes down to personal preference for the style that you want to use. The first method is to put your character's dialogue directly into the emote, in quotations, like you're writing a novel. This is probably the fastest way to do it. The second way is to do your emotes and dialogue separately. First, you write your emote. This describes what the character is doing. Then you hit enter again and say their dialogue. This method does have some advantages, even though it's slower, which I'll explain in later videos. Well, I think that's everything that you need to know to get started. So let's get out there and try some heavy roleplay.